What is going on today? This is Josh Lappin from the Part Time Drummer, and we are here with a new live cast here. Got some new information and a new little mini training series for you today. This one is on improving your dynamics on the drum set. So let's go ahead and get started today. We'll learn some things. All right, so we're talking about improving your dynamics on the drum set. But before we get started, let me just tell you a quick little bit about myself and my background. Again, my name is Josh Lappin, and I'm from the Part Time Drummer. 36-year-old native from North Carolina, currently married with 2 kids. Been playing drums for over 20 years. Originally started in my teens. My first drum teacher was with a guy named Billy Cuthrell, who now owns his own music shop and does something very similar to what I do. He actually runs a music school in Raleigh, North Carolina. Has been recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine and has written for Modern Drummer and has a lot of clout in the music industry. So I had a very good start as a drummer. After that, during my early teens and early 20s, I played a lot with churches and gospel bands. When I went to college, I played with the Barton College Orchestra, and there I earned a 4-year degree in recording technology. So in addition to playing the drums, I also play bass, piano, and of course I like doing live sounding. But enough about me. Let's talk about how you can improve yourself on the drum set dynamically. So let's define dynamics first as we get started here. Dynamics are the ability to play drums at a variety of volumes. So, of course, you want to be able to play, I guess the most important thing a drummer is you want to have more than one dynamic range and ability. Most people know drums for being a very loud instrument, which that is called for on occasions. If you're playing a rock gig, of course you want to play very loud. In my opinion, drums tend to sound the best when they're played loud. But depending on the circumstances and the style of music, you may not be able to play loud all the time. And you want to have what we're talking about, dynamics, the ability to play at a soft volume, a medium volume, and a loud volume. But most importantly, though, is the ability to play well at those volumes and to be able to transition smoothly and musically between different volume levels. This can be called for within one song. You may have to do this in a song context, or it may be transitioning from a different part of your band or the show, for where you're going from like a set of softer to louder, or vice versa. So how do you play with dynamics? One of the most important things, I think, is to also have the right tools to do this too. You want to have a variety of drumsticks, several different sizes from smaller to larger. Of course, the smaller ones we use for more soft applications, maybe jazz or something like that. The larger ones will be used for more rock applications. But there are other things like brushes and rods that come in handy too. I highly suggest that if you're going to be a useful drummer, that you consider learning how to play brushes really well. Brushes are used in a lot of jazz applications, but they're also great to use when you need to play an acoustic drum set, but you can't play it at an extremely loud volume. So if you're at a small club or a restaurant or a small church, you can use a pair of brushes to play the parts without causing too much unnecessary volume. You might also consider electric drums in some circumstances. With those, of course, they're quite a bit less in volume, and they can help you to play in those gigs that require lesser volume but still have the, the drum set that you want for the style of music you're playing. Also, with those two, you can change the drum kit, so you can change it um, to whatever you want to play or whatever style you're playing with just the flip of the switch. Other tools for helping with dynamics for drummers, of course, are the type of head you choose can impact how loud your kit is or what frequencies it puts off. And you also have, there's reduced volume heads that you can get if you need to. There's also the shields, or all the way up to full-scale cages that people put drummers in to reduce the volume of the drums. And there's the deflectors that usually are just deflecting the cymbals. So there are some ideas of how to improve the dynamics of the drums there. We also got a few other things. Depending on what style you're playing, that could determine the volume level that's appropriate. So for like rock and funk, or even some country nowadays, a loud volume is what's called for. So you want to be able to play at that loud volume. So it's important to practice those styles at their appropriate dynamic level. If you get into jazz and things like that, of course, it's a lot quieter. You might be using the smaller stick and a brush and doing a lot of, like I said, a lot quieter applications. So, like I said, one of my suggestions for being a great dynamic drummer is to learn different styles, because that in itself will help you to have a larger skill set, a larger set of beats and fills that you can go to for these different types of situations you might find yourself in and where you need to be or use different dynamics. Another plus of this too is if you learn a lot of styles, it helps you get more gigs, which we all want. But to put all this into practice, you actually have to practice. So I suggest that you incorporate dynamics into your practice. You might want to set aside some time during your practice to practice dynamics. Always make practice a priority, because you can't get better and you can't learn to be dynamic if you don't practice. Even if you can only practice maybe 5, 10, or 15 minutes a day, it is important to do just that. Make it a part of your daily routine. If you're a working drummer, full-time employment, or a weekend warrior, as they would say, try to set a practice schedule that's consistent, whether that's practicing early in the morning or in your lunch breaks or even late at night. And to do that, make sure you have the proper tools. Going back to dynamics again, some people may be in a situation where they can't practice on an acoustic kit. You live in an apartment, or you have a lot of neighbors or small kids, something like that. Roommates, it may not be feasible for you to practice on your acoustic kit. So you can get a practice pad or an electronic drums, and you can still get some work done with, some headphones and a metronome that plugs in to a mixer or something, You always got to be creative as a drummer and a musician. You got to find a way to get it done. So those are some ideas for you. Finally, to be a more dynamic drummer, consider broadening your skills and learning another instrument. This will increase your value as a musician and automatically help you to understand things like melodies and rhythms and dynamics. Of course, it'll improve your ear, and improving your ear is one of the really key secrets to being dynamic anyway. You can hear the dynamics, and you can hear and feel the different parts of the music. It definitely enhances that dynamic factor. Plus, as I always say, it makes you look really cool if you can play a second instrument, and maybe you can switch off on stage during a set, and it makes things really exciting people can play different instruments, especially the another suggestion too, to improve your dynamics is to play with more experienced musicians, so that way they can teach you and you can learn from them. They'll challenge you to rise to their level, and the idea is for you to be able to pick up their habits and their best practices and to receive advice from them. So, you may be thinking to yourself, well, all that is great, and that's some good tips, but I still think I need a little bit of extra help in helping to be a dynamic drummer. Well, if that's the case for you, then I'd suggest that you consider joining our membership at the Part-Time Drummer, where we offer online drum lessons, where we can teach you a large variety of things, being dynamic being one of them, in addition to a lot of other things. The advantages of being a member with us is that, of course, you can take lessons anytime and anywhere there's an internet connection. There's complete location independence. You can do this hours a day. You don't have to worry about some other person's schedule, music shop being open or closed, school being open or closed. It's also very affordable, often very much less expensive than the traditional drum school. We tend to be probably either half